What's up guys, Matt with BleepinJeep. I'm out here plugging along, still working on this thing. Not much different since the last video, I don't think, but I will show you what I have done. First of all, I've been working on trying to figure out where the leaf springs are going to sit, and that's really hard to do because I have no motor in there. So when there's a motor in there, there's going to be another 1,000 pounds or so pushing down on those leaf springs. Which is going to flatten them out more and change everything basically. So there's that. The good news is I've got these slider boxes, which there's a lot of wiggle room in there. Come on. There's a lot of wiggle room there for where it's going to sit, so I could still go forward or backward quite a bit, and then that slides back and forth as the spring articulates. The next thing I've been working on is plating the rest of the frame rail here. So I'm gonna come, I stopped here before, and then I'm gonna come all the way out, and then I think that's 8 inches in front of this piece here. It looks like a lot, but really once you get the bumper and stuff on there, that's about normal for mounting a winch on there. Actually the winch is even wider than that, but I plan on making the bumper kind of come out like this and then go across. But that's what I wanted to talk about, was this. So I needed to figure out where to mark this hole. Come on, what is the deal? I needed to know where to mark that hole to drill it. This is where the steering goes, the steering gearbox. Of course it might not on this vehicle, but I still wanted to put the holes there. The problem was I couldn't fit a Sharpie through the other side. I'm just going to put this thing on autofocus if it won't stop it. So I couldn't fit a regular Sharpie into that hole, and it has to go across probably, what, 2 or 3 inches to mark the other side of that. And that's where this came in handy. This is the Fast Cap long-nosed pattern marker, and it's actually for marking patterns in your foam. If you watched my toolbox video that I did for the Scorpion crawler, I laid my tools out, like say this was your tool, and then you can mark real close up to the tool, so when you cut your foam it'll be very accurate. But it actually came in handy just now. So let me show you. Come on. There it is. So it's basically a Sharpie marker on a long tip. And I was able to stick it all the way through and mark the other side of these holes with it. I guess you could use a pencil or something if you wanted, but that came in super handy. So no affiliation, but I'll leave an Amazon link if you guys are interested in that. What else have I been working on? I guess that's about it. This is super complicated, and I've been working on that while I'm waiting on some adapters for the transmission. Oh, I got the transmission in. So check it out. This is a built TH400 with a reverse manual valve body, which means that instead of going park, reverse, neutral, 3, 2, 1, it's going to go park, reverse, neutral, 1, 2, 3. And the reason that you want to do that is because when you're about to flip over backwards on a really steep hill, you just shove it down into reverse and kick it into reverse. Whereas before, the transmission would have to go back down from 3, 2, 1, and then neutral, reverse. With this reverse manual valve body, you can just slam it down in and it'll go to reverse much quicker. This is the shifter. So it's called reverse right gate shifter. So park, reverse, neutral, 1, 2, and 3. And the weird thing about this, I've never had one, but I'm going to have to shift it manually. So every time I want to shift gears, I have to shift manually. But I don't know how I like that, but it's pretty cool. So say you're climbing a hill, you're about to go over backwards, all you do is go like that, kicks it into reverse, and you save yourself. Ugh, this is hard to do with one hand. Anyway, that is pretty cool. So not only do you have to have the correct shifter with the correct shift pattern, but you have to adjust the internals of the transmission for that. So this was built by a really cool dude that knows a lot about transmissions. He's local to me, and he put a lot of time and effort into this. A custom torque converter with a 2200 stall, and it's also been machined down to fit my flex plate, and I'm waiting on that from Advanced Adapters. So once that gets here, I'll be able to bolt on the transfer case, the Atlas, and I'll be able to shove this motor in there. Hopefully that will help me out with setting up the leaf springs and all the other stuff. It should fall into place fairly quickly once I get that motor in there, because everything else is pretty much just waiting on that. So anyway, that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to get back to working on these brackets. I got to do the other side. My plan is to come off of here somehow and mount this leaf spring. Of course, like I said, once the weight is on it, it's going to be pretty much completely flat. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but we'll get it figured out. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention. I really wanted to bring the tire out in front of the vehicle, like in front of the bumper, so that you have a negative approach angle or a 0 degree approach angle, 90 degree, I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. The problem with doing that is the further I get the axle forward, well, the further the leaf spring is going to stick out, of course, but also right here, I mean, I'm already going to have a problem right there, you can see, and that's as far back as I can get the tire without it hitting, the rock rail on the backside. So, what do? The only thing I can do is cut and clearance. Try to get the tire back as far as possible, and then cut and clearance whatever I have to. So I wanted to keep all this, but it's probably going to have to go, because I wanted to keep the headlights, and I wanted to keep the stock look of the front of this thing. And I do not want to dovetail it, because I've already done that twice, and it's just a pain in the butt. And you have to cut the hood, and there's just a whole lot involved with doing that. But here's another quick tip for you. So this bracket that I'm making requires a bend right here, because the frame comes along and then it kind of bends this way. So instead of using a torch maybe and heating the metal to get it to bend, or instead of putting it in a brake and trying to break it at the right angle, an easy way to do that is to take whatever you have, plasma torch in my case, or a grinding wheel, and cut almost all the way through. So I left about an 1/8 inch on either side, and then I can take a hammer or put it in the vise and easily bend that. And then once I get it into place, I'll weld this side, and then I'll just weld up that gap, and I'll have a solid piece of steel now with the correct bend in it. An easy way to do it. Alright guys, check it out. I got those welded up real nice. Looks really funny sticking out front like that, but I promise it's supposed to be like that. Alright, next up. I get a lot of questions about how to center your axle, or how to make sure that it's, well, I guess left and right for one thing, front to back for another thing, but also not in there crooked. So the way I do that is plumb bobs. These are used for construction to find plumb. So basically to find level from top to bottom. So let's put these in. So the first thing you need to do is find some place on your frame that you know is exact. So I found these two bolt holes and I measured them. They're exactly the same distance from the front right here, 16.5 inches to here. So the next thing I'll do is take my plumb bobs. I was going to get a tripod, but maybe I can do this with one hand. So you put this on here, you leave it hanging, and then you wrap it up. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Now with those two plumb bobs, when they stop swinging, of course, you'll be able to center your axle front to back, left to right, side to side, whatever you need to do. So if you look right here, you'll see that the axle tube, I could get a tape measure, but I'd say it's about, well, let's just go with the back of the axle tube. So you can see the back of the axle tube is almost in line with that plumb bob. Let's go on the other side. And it's going to be a little harder to see on this side because we have a bunch of junk in the way. That's the problem that we've got, that we face. But, you know, we can take other measurements and we can kind of eyeball it. But basically you want to make sure that both sides match up to the back of that axle tube. I can't get my camera in there, but there's the axle tube right there. So you can see that it's fairly close. I will make sure it's exact later. But another thing you can do is center the axle left to right. So you measure from a known distance. So let's say if you look right here, there's this bolt coming out of the top of the knuckle right there. So we measure from there to the plumb bob, and then we do the same thing on the other side. So if this side is, say, 16 inches and the other side is 15 inches, we know we need to move the axle over a ½ inch one way or the other. So that is how I get my axles straight when I'm making my own brackets and customizing all this stuff. Now the leaf springs, on the other hand, I don't know how this happened, but the leaf springs, if you notice here, it's right in the center of the leaf spring. And then on this side, it's not quite in the center, this metal piece here. So either my leaf spring is in there crooked, or maybe the axle just needs to move over. I haven't measured yet, but that's what I'm up to right now. Here's an idea I just thought of to make this a little more accurate. I've got a level, and I'm going to put it right on the axle tube, on the back of the axle tube. And then I've got a square. I'll put it on the level, and then I'll make this level, and the square here is actually touching the string. I already measured the other side, and it's a ½ inch from the string. So that means that the other side of the axle needs to move backwards about a ½ inch. So question of the day, why do they call a plumb bob a plumb bob? Leave it in the comments below. I really have no idea. I'd like to know though, so what do you think? What's going on there? Why do they call that a plumb bob? Maybe somebody can fill us in. One thing I forgot to mention is make sure to wrap that around the bolt the same direction on both sides. Otherwise you'll be off the distance of the width of the bolt. I didn't do that at first properly. Some of you guys might have caught that. Now to remeasure. Hey guys, if you don't follow the Instagram page, you may not know this, but the Comancheep is done. And the reason I say that is so you can come out and see it at the Jeep Beach Jam, May 15th through the 20th. It's going to be in Panama City, Florida. They're going to have all kinds of great stuff going on out there. We're going to have a meet and greet. Tim and Jeremy from the channel are going to be there. You'll be able to see the build, the Comancheep build, in person, up close. They're going to have drive on the beach. You'll be able to drive on the beach. They're going to have an obstacle course. They're going to have a world record topless event. Not that kind of topless, Wrangler topless event. Try to break a world record in the Guinness Book, so you can take part in that. We're going to have demonstrations put on by the BleepinJeep crew and others. We'll have swag giveaways, of course. We're going to have the booth set up so you can come check out not only the Jeep, but we're going to sell t-shirts, stickers. You'll be able to check out all of the other vendors there as well, see what they have to offer. And it's just going to be fun. Have a blast out there. Come hang out on the beach. So come check it out. I hope you can make it. See you there.